Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and I'm here today to talk to you about the future of computing. Can you see my finger coming closer and closer to your face? Probably not, because if you could, I'd be a little freaked out. Because let's face it, the future of computing is everywhere and in your face. And I mean that in the most constructive way, because I don't think you want to get any closer to me than this. And while I'd be happy to have this conversation on any given day, this particular video happens to be sponsored by Intel RealSense. Isn't it nice to find support for doing the things that you wanted to do anyway? Kind of like the way that Intel empowers you to do things? And speaking of, back to the future of computing, which involves this. My finger and yours. Finger tracking, like making gestures in the air and then having a computer respond. But the computer of the future isn't necessarily like the computer of today. Not that I have an issue in particular with the computer of today. I'm talking about the computer of tomorrow, just being there, invisible, pervasive. That, I think, is the most difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around. The future of computing is everywhere, and so are you. That was me demonstrating finger tracking, which, being an Italian, is really easy to do, even if a computer isn't responding. And if your computer doesn't have finger tracking technology built into it, well, maybe you might think about getting one that does, but not in the future. Today, another thing we expect to see in the future of computing, facial analysis. Imagine, if you will, a system that allowed you to log into it using your face. I'd imagine that at some point in the not-too-distant future, we'd expect that every computer would recognize us by our face and our fingers. But you can't necessarily do that on your computer today, unless you have that technology integrated. Again, I'm trying to show you that the future of computing is actually happening at this very moment. Not in the comments section, though. You do realize that I'm a real person, right? And that I interact with you as much as I possibly can online, but we can't necessarily be in the same room together? I feel that if we had seamless levels of person-to-person interaction, social media would be so much better than it is today. Have you ever noticed that when some people comment online, you know very well that the things that they say in that comment form, they never actually say to you to your face? Perhaps if social media involved communications models beyond a text form, we'd have far less negativity. Generally speaking, technology has done a lot to bring us closer together, but it could still do more. Imagine if you could see my reaction after I read what you wrote, and vice versa. Wouldn't that be immersive? The response would be visceral, not just words typed into a form field. That would be true social media. That is the future of computing. Is Chris Pirillo real or virtual? Yes, I'm both. Here, I'm real. There, I'm virtual. Imagine if we could be physically in different locations, but virtually in the same experience. Like having both of us on the same screen at the same time doing something. With capable hardware and software installed on both sides of the equation, real world and virtual world will continue to converge. That covers virtual reality, but what about the other reality? Not the reality that you happen to be really realizing in reality, but augmented reality. That is to say, your computer of the future being able to place a virtual reality object on top of a real reality object. That's augmented. Maybe one day we'll be able to take that kind of technology advancement for granted, but today it's not always present. And even if you do have the ability to use AR, what about a deeper augmented reality experience? Who wouldn't want that? Something that doesn't look janky, something that works well, something that is seamless. That is just one more promise in the future of computing. What's challenging and yet exciting to talk about the future of computing is that we can't even imagine what's coming down the pike. If you were to ask the kid version of me what the future of computing held, I don't know if I could tell you it involved touchscreen computers, because I couldn't even imagine that being a possibility. There are thousands, if not millions, if not trillions of unimagined hardware possibilities that'll unlock new paradigms. Why would I want to be shackled to my own perception of what computing is and what it isn't? It's when we imagine the impossible that we unlock potential. When you have a set of components in front of you that allow you to unlock various experiences, well, sometimes it's up to you to unlock those experiences. It's like sitting in front of a gigantic pile of bricks that can be clicked and clacked and stacked in a variety of combinations. What are you going to build today? That's where this technology sits today for the future. It has the potential of being greater, not because of what it is, but because of what you do with it. Or perhaps more importantly, what you do to help other people. If I had to choose one word to describe the future of computing, I'd say that immersion would probably be it. It's here. It's there. It's everywhere. It's invisible. You don't have to think about how it works. You just be, and it just responds. That, to me, is the true value of what Intel's putting together with RealSense. They're helping you make sense, bridging the gap between the virtual world and the real world in computing. But computing's not just here, it's everywhere. And if the future of computing does involve immersion, then you can start having those experiences today. Once again, I'd like to thank Intel for sponsoring this video because it's a question asked of me on an annual basis. So this is a win-win-win situation. My question is, what do you think the future of computing holds? Let me know. But at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.